Hey everyone, checking out another Autodesk Certified User Certification exam objective for Fusion 360. And in this video, we're going to take a look at, under assembly modeling, the last option called motion studies. So I'm just going to go ahead and demonstrate. I have a little assembly that I have put together in Fusion just to kind of demonstrate what this is. So I have a miniature train that is running on a track, and right now here's kind of what I have is I have my miniature train assembly, which is a sub-assembly from another file. So that train has been inserted into this train on track file, so which is the main level assembly. And then the same thing here is I have three pieces of straight track, which are all inserted from another one, as another file. It's actually a copy of one file over 3 times, and has created what you can tell from the icons, a sub-assembly. So in the joints folder for this one, we have the rigid joints that are holding the track together, and we have a slider joint, and there's a motion link. So the motion link is actually a tie between, so if I animate the slider joint, just animating the joint, you'll see the body of the train is what it has the slider joint tied to it, and it's just sliding up and down the track. Well, it doesn't give to us the animation of the wheels turning and everything like that. So what our slider joint is, I created a motion link between that, and there's actually underneath the joints in the miniature train assembly with one that's called Drive Me. So the Drive Me is a revolute joint, which actually goes through and turns the wheels. So that way, as I animate the slider joint, it's motion linked with the revolute, so that way all of those revolute joints that are motion linked together. So as well as here, there's 3 motion links for the wheels, that way they all turn together at the same time. So that way we're able to go through and see all that turn at once. So if I animate my slider joint, do animate model this time, I'm able to see that there's my wheels turning as well. If I zoom in here, you can see the linkage arm moving up and down and going back and forth and moving from distance to distance and everything as such. Now, I can also create, for example, for things like a rendering or anything like that, to showcase a video file, I can create what they call a motion study. So like, for example, if I go under the assemble panel and go down to motion study, it allows me to select what joints that I want to participate in and to animate. So in this particular scenario, I'm going to go ahead and open up the joints folder. It tells me to select the joints to animate. I'm going to select the slider joint, and what we see here is along the x-axis we have, these are the number of steps that we're going to see. So we could go from 0 to 100, and as I click, so like here, I'm going to try to, as you put your cursor on this red line, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go about every 10 steps, I'm going to put in about a 6-inch increment. So here when I see 10, I'm going to click, and it's going to tell me what distance do I want to move. So at step 0, I'm at 0, but then at, so here I can type in 0, and that's at step 0. And so you'll see that it identifies as red. So I'm actually going to take that point off, and automatically it's going to be at step 0. So if you ever need to take a point off like that, you can always use that option. So at step 10, I'm going to go ahead and do, let's have 6 inches of distance, and if I hit the tab key, it'll go down to step 10, so you can see it will animate for you and see, kind of give you a preview before you kind of commit to it. To me, that looks good. Step 10, and I'm going to go ahead, so 6 inches, step 10, that should look good. So you can see it plots the point right there on the graph, and we can see that go up. So now I'm going to go ahead and go up to 20. I'm going to go up to 12 inches, hit enter. You can see that's going to go in, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click down further on the point. So as I go from 12, I'm going to go to 18, add another 6 inches, there's 30. As I go to 40, it's going to bump up to 24 inches. And then you can see I'm getting down to the end of the track. So now, as I get to 50, I'm going to go to 30 inches, and I'm going to go ahead and make that step 50, and that'll go through and move it there. So now my train's pretty much at the end of the track, but what I want it to do is I also want it to reverse to go backwards. So I'm actually going to just continue on the same trend. I'm going to go back to 24 inches, make that step 60. This is going to go back down to 18 for step 70. Go back to 12 at 80. And then for step 90, it'll be at 6 inches. And then here we'll go back to 0 at step 100. So you can see here's kind of the motion study or the motion graph that kind of gets created. So as it comes from 0, at step 50, it's its furthest point away from where it started. And then as we come back to step 100, it's going to go through and repeat. So if I hit the play button, I'm able to see that motion, and I'm able to control the speed a little bit more. So I'm going to back down the speed just a little bit. So you can see I'm able to watch the motion a little bit at a lower speed. If I increase it, you can see it goes a little bit faster. So as I go through and do that. So that's one way to control a lot of the motion that you have going on. I'm going to actually go ahead and I can also change the mode. This is a single rotation. If this is going to be a forward and back. So if I bump the speed up just a little bit, you can see how it just continues to go back and forth. And because this is kind of an interval, you can see this is a play loop as well. So you can play it on a loop where it continues to go back and forth. And again, you can adjust the speed, which is something you really can't do with the animate model kind of option. So this is one way to do that. But also when you go to render anything within the rendering environment, you know, the motion study allows you to go through and have a little bit greater control over some things as well. So this right here, with this video, this concludes kind of what are the steps involved in creating a motion study and what are some things to know about motion studies. So hopefully this has been very helpful to you, and if you have any questions, you're always feel free to contact me. But in the meantime, continue to look for resources, prepare for your ACU exam, and check out other videos spotlighting some of the ACU exam objectives that we have to make you successful in your journey.